Flint Courthouse is one of the oldest and most important buildings in Flint, which, in its time, held both grand session and quarter session trials. The surviving records are fascinating, with tales of kidnapping, theft, and even murder. A particularly interesting trial was heard in 1656, when charges of witchcraft were brought against a woman called Dorothy Griffiths, who lived in the village of Llanasa. A mariner called William Griffiths said that he had been walking at night to his ship at the Point of Ayr, when Dorothy had come towards him with many lanterns lighted about her, and that the marsh was covered with fire and light. After a few minutes, Dorothy vanished, but the lights had led him to Thomas Rogers' alehouse. Griffith then saw Rogers' wife carrying a candle and became exceedingly frightened, saying to everyone in the alehouse that if he were allowed to go out, no one would see him again. He certainly seems to have been a sick man, for apart from his several fainting fits that night, his brother Edward described his eyes as seeming to be like a flame of fire. Thomas Rogers and his wife put him to bed that night, hoping he would feel better in the morning. What did William Griffith see that night? Marsh gas or methane that had somehow caught fire, perhaps? There was a popular idea at the time of corpse candles, lights or flames which would appear when nearby death was imminent. This could explain Griffith's terrified state. In the morning, William refused to go home until he had seen Dorothy. Dorothy was sent for, and she came quickly to the alehouse to see how she could help. William then insisted that she should drink before entering the room, presumably in order to demonstrate that she was truly human. She took the drink as requested and denied that she had led him to the house and that she had been surrounded by lights. She insisted she had done nothing to harm him and prayed for him. After Dorothy had asked God to bless him, William got up from the bed and apparently went home in a good mood. But it seems that the good mood did not last for long, because on 7th of April 1656, amongst the prisoners brought to the bar of the Court of Great Sessions was Dorothy Griffiths of Llanasa, to be prosecuted by William Griffith. Several weeks later, after imprisonment in Flint jail, Dorothy petitioned John Bradshaw, Lord Chief Justice of Flint, to draw his attention to the great malice which William Griffith bore her and her family in bringing false accusation against her. Attached to the petition was a certificate signed by 31 of her neighbours, stating that there were no grounds for supposing that Dorothy had ever had anything to do with witchcraft. The time soon came when Dorothy would appear before two judges. One was Thomas Fell, considered to be a good lawyer and a good man. The senior judge was John Bradshaw, the same man who had tried and sentenced Charles I to death. This was in the middle of the 17th century, when witch persecutions were at their height. Bradshaw and Fell had also recently condemned to death 3 Cheshire women for witchcraft in October 1654. William Griffith's accusations of witchcraft against Dorothy had placed her in grievous danger, and it is doubtless for this reason that the most influential men of Llanasa interceded on her behalf, led by the vicar, William Smith. The first person to be examined was Thomas Rogers, carpenter from Picton, who kept an alehouse near the seaside. Much of his evidence was confirmed by Thomas Rogers' wife. Edward Griffith's testimony was more informative. Having met his brother William, who was on his way to his ship, both had gone to an alehouse near the sea and called for a pottle of ale. Dorothy entered and was asked by William whether he had ever offended her father and his children, and whether she would ask them to leave him alone. He, in turn, promising not to offend them. Dorothy agreed to convey the message. It was after that William had claimed to have seen Dorothy surrounded by lights, but Dorothy denied this and the fact that she had led him to the alehouse. It really is a striking feature of the case that so many of the Llanasa parishioners turned up to the court to testify on her behalf, especially so many influential men. To the best of our knowledge, she survived, which must have been an enormous relief to Dorothy and the rest of the villagers. The old courthouse has served the people of Flint for hundreds of years, not only for its original judicial use, but just as importantly as a much-loved shop in the pride of place on Church Street. As it starts the next chapter of its life, take time to look around and imagine the invisible footprints of those who've walked here before you. During its time as a courthouse, a grocer's store, a bakery, a brewery, or the fondly remembered electrical shop run by Tommy Bithell and his wife Margaret. This building certainly has had its fair share of drama, and so it seems fitting that now it can serve as a cafe, offering somewhere to sit and reflect on all that has gone before.